Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Germaine Noonan. I'm Head of Education at Business in the Community Ireland, and welcome to our first ever cross-border industry insights for teachers today. It's fantastic for teachers from schools in the north of Ireland and for those in neighbouring counties to engage in an industry insight this morning with Veolia on the topic of environmental management. And you know, it's so nice, we've 20 teachers and 10 are from the south of Ireland, southern counties, and 10 from Northern Ireland. We're delighted that our lead member company, Veolia, has collaborated with us along with Business in the Community Northern Ireland to deliver the session. A little bit about ourselves. Business in the Community Ireland's purpose is to inspire and enable businesses to bring about a sustainable low carbon economy and a more inclusive society where everyone thrives. We have about 120 member companies in our network. And supporting those objectives and that purpose, we have a partnership model with the Department of Education, and that involves about 230 one-to-one partnerships. That's one business with one company around the country, supporting the areas of educational inclusion, in particular student retention, literacy and numeracy at primary school level, and industry insights for teachers, as well as some management excellence for principals, and that's open to all schools. So our agenda this morning, which I know you're going to be really engaged in. First of all, we'll hear from Brian Bailey, Head of Communications at Veolia, and he's going to introduce you to the business. And then that will be followed by Scott Reynolds, Operation Manager, and Scott will take you through the day-to-day operations and what people do. Then Sabrina O'Shea from Human Resources will talk about the really important people and skills perspective. And then we'll wrap up with Emma Webster, who's a graduate entrant engineer, who'll talk about her career path and her current role and her future plans. So I hope you find the morning, and I've no doubt you will, really beneficial. At the end, we have built-in time for your questions. So at that point, please do unmic, and we would really welcome any questions that you have for our speakers. So now I'd like to introduce Emma Morrison, who's the Education Manager for Business in the Community Northern Ireland, to also welcome you here today. And finally, just before I hand over, this session is now being recorded. Welcome, Emma.
Hello, Germaine. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's lovely to see so many of our schools here. And as Germaine said, this is our first cross-border event. So it's great having schools represented north of the border and south. This is a great event, you know, very beneficial. It's great that one of our member companies who is based throughout the island of Ireland has been able to provide an opportunity for you all here today. Something that's so beneficial because obviously as teachers, you're then able to take it back to the classroom. So as Germaine said, you know, we're Business in Community Northern Ireland. Some of you may be aware of us through our work on the Work Inspiration Programme, where we place young people into placements and we provide work inspiration opportunities. We have a range of other programmes, again, similar to BITC Ireland. We do a lot of time to read, time to code, time to count, and we work with members all across, over 260 members across the north at the moment. I hope you all enjoy this morning. It will be very insightful. There's a great number of speakers lined up. Thank you also to Veolia for offering this opportunity to our schools. And I hope you all have loads of questions. And as Germaine said, there'll be time at the end. I probably won't be able to stay on for the full event because I have a session to deliver in one of our schools. But a couple of my colleagues, Karen and Joanne, who you may know from the Work Inspiration Programme for those schools in Northern Ireland, you know, they're there to assist.
Thank you, Emma. So Brian, it's over to you.
Thank you, Germaine. Yes, my name is Brian Bailey. I'm Senior Commercial Manager with Veolia, and I've been asked to describe my career journey by way of introduction. So my early interest was in maths and physics science subjects at school. And I did A-levels. The first year at A-level, I did maths and physics. And in the second year, I did further maths and chemistry. On the basis of that, I won a scholarship in aeronautical engineering to Queen's University in Belfast. and I participated in an undergraduate apprentice program. That was a sandwich course, which involves 1 year in Bombardier with work experience, and then 3 years, pardon me, 3 years university, and then another year in industry in Bombardier. My first full-time role was as an aerodynamicist, and that's a very mathematical subject. And after a couple of years in that, I was keen to broaden out within engineering, and I did an MSc in applied mechanics. And after a few years in that sort of pure engineering discipline, I broadened out into project management in aerostructures, again, an engineering role. I then progressed to management roles, head of function in project management, and broadened out further into program management and contract management, still within aerospace. I complemented my experience as I went along that journey with professional qualifications, such as a member of the Royal Aeronautical Society and chartered engineer. And eventually, with a few years experience at the management level, I sought to consolidate that experience with an academic qualification that I did, an MBA, Master of Business Administration in General Management Studies. I had developed at that point to head of function role in aerospace, and with the skills that I'd developed by that point, I was able to transfer as a head of function in commercial contract management into the water sector. So the story of my career is essentially an initial interest in STEM subjects, then core professional discipline, development and engineering, broadening into the head of function in project management, then wider program management and contract management within aerospace. And then those transferable skills and experience allowed me to switch into the water sector as a head of function in commercial contract management. In terms of inspiration and motivation along the way, I have to say that my secondary level teachers were key. And they helped me develop the capability and confidence in STEM, particularly in maths and physics. And I think they did that through encouraging discussion in real world applications, which was important to me. For example, I remember my maths teacher describing a game of rugby as a mathematical model. I also built electronic devices with my fellow pupils, things like transistor radios, amplifiers, and so on at lunchtime and after school with the physics teacher in the physics lab. And that held my attention and kept me interested. So I'll move on to give you an overview of Veolia and what we're all about in an attempt to answer the question, who is Veolia? So Veolia is essentially a large global company delivering environmental services, and we're active in three main sectors. They are energy, water, and waste sectors. Globally, Veolia employs just short of 180,000 people in all countries across the world. And we have 14,000 employees in the UK and Ireland region. And that is part of our North Europe zone. Veolia is not particularly well known in Northern Ireland. It's better known in the Republic of Ireland, but not as recognizable as a name as it would be in England and Scotland, where we're very active, and the Veolia logo is very well recognized at airports and at large events in London, on municipal sites and vehicles and so on. But I thought as an introduction to Veolia, it's maybe best to show you a short video that says who we are better than I can. So if we can move on to the video. Thank you.
This is an historic moment. Never has humanity's future been so closely entwined with environmental concerns. This is urgent. Our climate is changing. Natural resources are running out. Biodiversity is collapsing. Our house is on fire. We all know it. Everyone is talking about it. Now we must act. Practical, high-impact solutions already exist. Now more than ever, we need industrial players to accelerate their deployment. But other problems remain to be solved. We must do all we can to invent the solutions of tomorrow. We must go beyond transition. There is no time left for gradually changing our methods. To reconcile the environment and human development, we must make decisive, difficult and structuring choices. That is why Veolia aspires to a larger, higher, more challenging ambition: ecological transformation. Ecological transformation means genuinely adapting our patterns of production and consumption. It means placing ecology at the heart of every process, every assessment, every decision. It means developing radical, meaningful solutions to meet humanity's existential challenges. Decarbonizing industry to combat climate warming, promoting the circular economy to combat resource depletion, decontaminating the air, water and soil, protecting biodiversity, and creating a more resource-efficient agriculture. None of this would be possible without the coordinated action of all our stakeholders, our 180,000 employees, of course, but also our customers, our shareholders, our partners, and wider society as a whole. We are committed to delivering a multifaceted performance and convinced that economic, social, and environmental concerns must form an indivisible whole. Decontaminating, sanitizing, purifying, recycling, recovering, conserving, and facilitating access to resources, Veolia has always worked to create solutions capable of building a better, more sustainable future for all. Today, we want to become the benchmark company for ecological transformation. Our ambition is huge, but so is our determination. Ecological transformation, that is our purpose.
Thank you for that. Okay, thank you for that. In support of that ecological transformation and illustrating our commitment to it, Veolia has developed a business performance measurement regime that we call multifaceted performance. That's essentially a balanced scorecard covering 5 key areas that you'll see around the circumference of the diagram on the slide. And they are society, planet, clients, stakeholders, and employees. The 5 areas map to the various United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, that each area supports. And they are the little squares, the symbols, colors in around the periphery of the diagram. Each business area within Veolia is rolling out this multifaceted performance as the prime measure for business and for personal performance of employees. And this is demonstrating commitment to more than just the traditional narrow financial business goals, and recognizing that success now and in the future depends on performing across all of these areas. Veolia is involved, as I said earlier, in 3 main lines of business, and that's the management of water, waste, and energy. Regarding water, we cover the full water cycle, and we're involved in drinking water treatment and the provision of safe and high quality drinking water for consumers. And we also have wastewater treatment facilities where we discharge harmless effluent to the environment after treating wastewater. In our waste sector, we're involved in the management of liquid and solid waste, both hazardous and non-hazardous. And again, we cover the full cycle, from collection to recycling to recovery and disposal. And we try as far as we can to recover as much as possible as materials or energy. In our energy sector, we're involved in the management of energy efficiency and consumption for our clients. And we also manage heating and cooling networks and offer alternative energy production, which is lower carbon footprint and always looking for more effective and efficient solutions regarding energy. In Ireland, we have over 700 employees, and that's growing every day. And about 100 of those are in Northern Ireland, and we're trying our best to grow the business in Northern Ireland. Across Ireland, 3 million people benefit from our water activities, where we manage 5 drinking water treatment sites and 16 wastewater sites. In waste, we manage 80,000 tonnes of waste per annum, with a recovery rate of around 80%. And that includes 14,000 tonnes of what's called SLF, that's secondary liquid fuel. And that is based on taking solvent waste from high-tech IT companies and pharmaceutical plants and treating that, and then producing SLF that then replaces fossil fuels in their production processes. So it's a good example of the circular economy in action. We estimate that our activities save approximately 200,000 tonnes of carbon through our energy performance contracts. And those contracts involve the metering of consumption at over 500 points, gathering the data from those, and then managing energy through our hub grade smart monitoring systems. And typically in a year, we would provide 35 megawatts of combined heat and power. That's energy from anaerobic digestion for our clients. On this slide, there are some articles available to you that demonstrate what we're involved in Ireland. Each one of these articles has a link. So if you'll get the material after the session, and you can use those links. It'll take you to a web page with more information about the articles, and you can see the sort of things that we're doing in terms of operations and the services we provide in Ireland. Go to the next slide. And in this slide, this is here really just to make the point that we provide the operations and services to our clients, but we're also involved in the wider debate and encouragement of sustainability. And these are some articles that show you what we're doing in that area. Again, these will be available to you after the session. So at this point, as Jermaine said, Scott Reynolds is going to talk to you about operations and give you a feel for that. So at this point, I'll hand over to Scott.
Okay, thanks very much, Brian. Good morning to us all. So Brian said, I'm Scott Reynolds, and I represent the operations side of the Veolia business. So in terms of my background and how I got to this role, as you can see from my qualifications, I followed an engineering path, mechanical engineering to be precise, because I always had a strong draw to physics and mathematics and technology. And as you can see, that's just a snapshot of the qualifications. I would have the honours degree chartership through the Engineering Council and the Institute of Water, and then as most engineers you'll find, sort of took a more management path and management qualifications. So as I said at the start, as been mentioned before, at the minute I'm on the operations side of the business, but I am in the process of transitioning to a new commercial role where I will support a number of different contracts and projects through the business, identifying risk and opportunities and all for the business. In terms of previous roles and careers, I've worked in 3 different facets of the engineering industry. Starting off with main contracting, where we built large process plants, water and wastewater plants in particular. Then consultancy, where I was acting as client representative and all things technical and commercial, and now in the sort of operational role. I've been asked to think about an inspirational teacher, and the one that sticks to mind was my careers teacher in school, Mr. Crawford. And back in the time when learning difficulties weren't really considered by schools, if you couldn't do something, you were nearly considered stupid. I was guided towards going to the regional tech for my A-level years, because it was later found that I had a dyscalculia, and how it affects me is my ability to retain large strings of information, and I've had to develop a way of mind mapping information. Next slide, please. So in terms of Veolia day-to-day, we'll start off with this pictogram, and this gives a sort of general feel for what one of our contracts would look like. So if we take the first sort of area there, the energy sources, electricity, so we would have teams of low voltage and high voltage engineers who would maintain and provide emergency cover for plant power supplies, typically from where the point that comes off the grid, where the plant has their own switchgear and stuff. Water, and although people will say, well, why would a third party have to treat water? A lot of our clients, especially pharmaceuticals, would have more onerous requirements in terms of water quality, or they may want it altered in terms of pH for chemical properties, and our teams can do that and manage that for them. Gas, although people say, oh, well, how do like firms supply gas and maintain the infrastructure? That is true, but from the point that the meter point inside the complex, the client complex, our staff would maintain that infrastructure within the complex, right away to the point of application, and that point of application could be domestic boiler or home heating combi type boiler, right through to large steam plants or autoclaves. Next block would be the utility block. And depending on the contract, we carry out statutory and maintenance checks and the associated preventative and reactive works to ensure that the supplies of power, steam, compressed air, chilled water, and atmospheric constraints such as temperature, humidity, pressure are all maintained within the tolerances that are required for the production part of our client's business. As part of the utilities piece, we also have a technical engineering team who work to ensure that these systems work in the most efficient way possible. And by way of example, we would have clean rooms for certain clients, and they must be regulated at a certain temperature. So in colder weather, instead of using expensive energy-hungry air conditioning units, we'll develop a system whereby we draw in air from the outside atmosphere, which is cooler, the ambient temperature is cooler. So it's things like that in an energy conscious world. In terms of waste, as a software contracts, we provide waste services ranging from waste collection around different parts of our clients' factories to operating wastewater and waste byproduct treatment plants to ensure that the product leaving the site and going into rivers and different receptors is within environmental constraints or consensus they're known. In GB, we also provide services for the collection, screening, and segregation of waste recyclables. that can be broken down, turned into raw material for new products. Next slide, please. So, in terms of my specific contract, I currently have a team of 54 staff from varying backgrounds: engineering, administration, waste, in addition to local suppliers and subbies to help us deliver the 24/365 contract. For my role, as with most of my colleagues who manage contracts, it's not just an engineering tactical background that's required. You also need health and safety knowledge and competency. And for anybody who knows about health and safety, one of the main drivers for it is having skills, knowledge, and experience. And although in my role, I don't need to have that skills, knowledge, and experience for everything we do, I have to have the staff there that, as a combined, would cover and would have those skills, knowledge, and experience. Financial and commercial awareness. Although Veolia have a well-established finance team and commercial teams, the contract manager or the operations manager still needs to have that commercial and financial awareness for running budgets and being able to flag to the business when there may be a financial problem coming, and knowing the terms and conditions of the contract so that you know where your risks or opportunities may exist. Staff engagement. At Veolia, we don't think of people as staff, we think of resources. And to that end, we want to find ways of engaging with them, telling them what's happening in our business, identifying any needs or concerns and dealing with those, and taking ideas from them as the improvements they see that we could adopt, because at the end of the day, they're at the cold face. This engagement process can include presentations, lunch sessions, stakeholder groups, and we're very active in this regard. Communication skills. I'm required to communicate at all different levels and to all the different audiences, and whether that be in the form of a technical report to a client or giving presentations such as today. And if we take presentations, I know a lot of professional people who could come out in a cold sweat over having to give a presentation. However, I was exposed early in my career to having to give presentations, and now it becomes a normal part of the job. Now, I'm not suggesting that everyone, including myself, is or ever will be a great orator, but at least having the skills to be able, and the confidence to be able to get your point across is invaluable. And finally, stakeholder management, which covers all facets and groups of the people I deal with and other contract managers deal with, from clients, the internal management, the resources. Next slide, please. So this slide just gives you a sort of snapshot of some of the industries we would work in on the island of Ireland, and if we'll touch on some of the points on it. If you take Northern Ireland Water, we currently have a 25-year contract with Northern Ireland Water, and we operate 6 sites around Northern Ireland for Northern Ireland Water. Aerospace, we support 5,000 staff and growing on one of our sites. There's food and beverage, and there's the Mater Hospital. And just to touch on what Brian mentioned earlier on with CHP, we operate a CHP engine that provides all the power for the Mater Hospital in Dublin. Next slide, please. So, just as a final slide, the Veolia rules, and Veolia will employ circa 700 people on the island of Ireland, and that number is growing. And as you'll see in a photograph in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen when it comes up, we do have recruitment drives, and at that point we're looking for 60 additional people. Now, although the roles shown on that slide are typically tactical roles, a large business such as ourselves needs more than just tactical roles. We also need finance roles, marketing, business development, IT, and the list basically goes on. So we do provide a very rounded recruitment and employment base. And on that, I'd like to hand you over now to Sabrina, who's one of our HR business partners. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Scott. Hi, everyone. How are you? So yeah, firstly, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Sabrina O'Shea, and I'm one of 3 HR business partners with Veolia Ireland. A bit about my qualifications and background. I did my Leaving Cert locally in Loretto Secondary School in Kilkenny. And I decided to pursue an education in HR management. So I went to National College of Ireland in Dublin. The first year of that, I guess, was your typical business degree. So a couple of people out of that would have went into financial services, would have went into accountancy, and some went into HR as well. So it was a good starting point for people who maybe like to have a variety in year 1, and then were able to branch off then in the subsequent years. So when I finished that, I think I was coming out of college in the middle of a recession, and I think it was either leave the country or maybe see if there were any maybe internships or maybe an opportunity to go back to college and further education. So at the time, I was lucky enough to be accepted on the master's program in HR management in the National College of Ireland. So that was a 1-year thought masters. So I completed that. So after the whole master's and honours degree, I had a CIPD accreditation. So that's just a HR qualification. And when I finished there, I was looking for any role. I wasn't fussy. I just wanted to get a job, as most people, when you're inexperienced and straight out of college. So I was actually very lucky to get a 2-year graduate program in a logistics and transport company based in Wexford in Ireland. And that was a small Irish-owned company, maybe around a little over 100 employees. There was myself and the HR manager, so that gave a really good exposure to all aspects of HR. You know, it was definitely a good starting point for somebody who was willing to learn. But after 2 years, there probably wasn't a whole lot more for me to take on there. So I started to look further afield, and I kind of had my eyes set maybe on a multinational or bigger company. So I got an opportunity in a large multinational FMCG in a manufacturing industry in Dublin. So I moved to Dublin, back to Dublin, should I say, and I started working there. So I worked there for 2 years in their manufacturing. So they were food manufacturing, and I done 2 years there, but they also had a sales and distribution part of the business as well. So an opportunity came up there for a HR business partner. So I applied for that role and was successful. So then I moved into the other side of the house, which is sales and distribution. So it was nice. It was kind of like going into another industry, another part of the business, but still be very familiar with all of the same systems and people and policies and procedures that were already existing in the company. But it was a nice transition over to a slightly more corporate world, I would say, because the sales and marketing aspect was in that part of the business. So I done 2 years there. And at that point, then I had been in that company for about 4 years, and I was just looking for something different, bit more of a challenge, something new. And I was starting to get fed up of Dublin as well and looking to move home to Kilkenny, where I'm from. So I was lucky to see a role advertised for HR business partner with Veolia. So I applied for that and was successful. So I started in Veolia just over 4.5 years ago as a HR business partner. So there's 3 HR business partners in Ireland, myself, Gavin, and another lady called Angela. So we support the different business lines. So I support water and waste, Gavin Sports Energy, and Angela Sports Northern Ireland, and our support services. More or less, sometimes we dip in and out of different parts depending on how busy it is in different business lines. So that's kind of my career to date, I guess. When asked about an inspirational teacher, for me, I was always more drawn to the teachers who taught subjects that I was a little bit more comfortable with. So the likes of business studies and accountancy, they were the teachers that stood out. I guess when you're studying something that you kind of are doing well with and your teachers are happy with you, and that maybe it makes the relationship a bit better. But yeah, I definitely found my business teacher, he was really, really nice. He had the same approach, whether you were the weakest or the strongest student in the class, gave everybody a lot of help and a lot of support. Yeah, and he was just really approachable. He was maybe a bit younger than some of the other teachers that was working there. So he was a bit of crack and got on well with most of the students. So I think, yeah, he was definitely one of the more inspirational teachers that I had. So a typical day in the life of a HR business partner, well, first of all, there is no typical day. They all kind of are different depending on what's going on. Some of it can be quite seasonal. You know, we have annual cycles for, you know, employee engagement surveys, for different wellness initiatives, for, you know, the graduate program might have a different cycle of the year. But then thrown into the mix, lots of different challenges. So I guess just talent acquisition is one of them. So when I say talent acquisition, I guess that's a fancy way of saying resourcing. And that is a big piece at the moment. We have 30 vacancies at the moment. And so far this year, we've hired 163 people externally, and we've done 35 internal promotions. We've had to do some resourcing outside of Ireland. So we've become a trusted partner with Critical Skills Employment Permit. So that's really helped with getting people over from different countries such as India, Saudi, Dubai. So that's been really beneficial with our resourcing challenges. The onboarding process, I guess that's all getting people's contracts, getting them set up in our system. And then the offboarding, I guess, is when somebody leaves, exit interviews, making sure they have a smooth transition in and a smooth transition out of the business. Talent management is about putting people on leadership development programs, helping them with promotions, giving them opportunities, making sure that if they want sponsored education, that's there. So we do a lot of work about looking at, you know, key players in the business, identifying them through succession planning, putting those people on leadership development programs, giving them opportunities, stretch projects, maybe more management responsibilities. Then this year we relaunched the apprenticeship program. So we have 7 apprentices, our apprenticeships live in Ireland. So we have some in Dublin, Ballina and Kilkenny. So that's fantastic to start getting new young people back into the business. And yeah, we weren't doing that for a while, so it's great to see that back again. And then we've loads of graduate opportunities. We love to get graduates into the business, you know, fresh eyes. They bring a lot to the business, and then hopefully we get to retain them in the business as well. So that's been another way that we've looked at some of our resourcing issues, is starting to grow the talent as opposed to trying to hire it externally. So yeah, that's a whistle-stop tour of a HR business partner. So I'm going to hand you over then to my colleague Emma, who's going to tell you a little bit about herself and her career.
So hi, so my name's Emma and I've entered Veolia as a graduate, joining in 2019. So I'm just going to chat over a bit about what experiences I had at university that developed my sort of career path so far, and a bit about the day-to-day of process engineer with Veolia. So I'll try and whiz through this just to ensure that we have enough time for questions at the end for everyone. So I studied GCSEs at Portadown and A levels at Portadown College, having joined that school from Tandragee High School and moving through the Dixon Plan, which is a sort of educational route that we have in Northern Ireland. I studied biology, chemistry, and geography and art at AS, and then I dropped the art and continued the other three onto A levels, gaining my AAB grades. I've always loved nature and the natural world, and that then just sparked an interest in science and the environment for me, and that was sort of what made me choose my A levels and then on to my degree. And I always knew I wanted to work in some form of environmental protection or monitoring and a technical role. So I chose biochemistry to study at Queen's University Belfast. I'd originally chose marine biology, and actually just about a month before I was to finish my choices and really sort of start my exams, I quickly switched from marine biology to biochemistry. I had a bit of a spook at a careers fair and didn't feel very confident that marine biology would get me a job. But looking back now, I probably would have been just fine with marine biology and probably could have still, got into the role I was in. But biochemistry has probably been more better suited for my role that I've took in the water industry, working with wastewater. But there's plenty of water opportunities for marine biologists out there. So I had 2 years in biochemistry at Queen's University, and then I had the option to undertake a placement year, which was one of the best decisions I ever made. It really got me firsthand, real hand experience working and implementing my degree in the real life situation. So I got a placement at Veolia as a process technologist, working under a team of senior process engineers with the sort of central UK technical direction team that we have at Veolia. It was an excellent opportunity, and it opened my eyes to environmental engineering roles. Gained a lot of practical experience, and I really find that helpful, bringing that experience back with me into my final year. I was very lucky then to get offered a job out of my placement with Veolia, and it was a very nice feeling going back into my final year at university, knowing I didn't have to do any interviews. And I was also lucky to have a joint dissertation opportunity with Veolia, and I was able to do a sort of industrial dissertation, looking at metabolic activity in activated sludge. So again, I was able to just continue getting more in industry experience out of my placement. I graduated and joined Veolia full-time in 2019 as a process coordinator. And then I was promoted to process engineer for Project Omega, which is our contract that Scott mentioned with Northern Ireland Water in 2020. And I've been in this role ever since. Those are sort of an overview of my qualifications and sort of other industry experiences that I try to get, not so much qualifications, is working with a professional body. A professional body, there's quite a few out there for students and people working to just sort of give you a well-rounded experience of the industry, see more sectors and network opportunities as well. So I'm part of the Institute of Water. I sit on the NI area committee as the Young Persons Network representative. And then I've also taken on the national UK Young Persons Network representative role as well. And then I was fortunate enough this year to be to secure the Rising Star 2022 for Northern Ireland spot, which is a sort of early career development program, which is a horrible name, very cheesy Rising Star name, but it's an excellent program for your continued professional development. And then I also feel it's important to support STEM where I can, and I try to take on STEM at mentoring programs as a mentor for GCSE and A-level students as well, which is really good and teaches me stuff as well from those students' experiences. So a bit about my day-to-day role as a process engineer. My main role includes compliance monitoring and making sure that what we discharge to our water bodies, rivers and lakes and sea are good and within the laws and the environmental consents. And then I have a lot of experience, and I do a lot with process optimization, making sure that our process from start to finish runs efficiently and to the best that it can. The role of a process engineer in any industry, pharmaceutical or water or in factory, is to just ensure that a process from start to finish runs correctly, and that you're hitting your sort of targets. I then also do a lot with digitalization and automation of our data, and I do a lot with reporting as well. And some of that now involves carbon reporting and sort of environmental reporting. And then I do a lot with operational support and the training of our operators who would run the site day to day. What drives me in my role is my passion for the environment and improving water quality. The water industry is very exciting, and it's very interesting times for the industry as well, as we're at the forefront of the climate emergency, water scarcity, and it really is a frontline and engaging sector, and one that there's lots and lots of roles and opportunities in, as you've heard from today. And then a bit about my next steps. So I really love the environmental sector, and I've really also enjoyed working in operations. So I think for me in next steps is that I'd like to get more involved in environmental monitoring and compliance a bit more closely, or perhaps I'd like to sort of aspire to be an operational manager. Operations is very frontline and reactive, but it also takes a lot of planning and a proactive approach. And I like that mixture that I get in my role. Some days you can be on site 24/7, or another day you can be sitting doing work on the computer. And I like that switch that I'm able to have. And I know that I'd like to lead a team someday. And this role is process engineer, and any role really working with a large scale company or any company gives you the opportunity to have organizational skills, teamwork skills, and working with a whole range of different people. And that has really shown me that I would like to be a sort of leader of a team someday. And Veolia have always been very supportive of my development, and I from doing biochemistry in undergraduate and then doing a placement in sort of an engineering sector, it's really sparked an interest for becoming a bit of an engineer and a better engineer for me. And I've been able to get sponsorship with Veolia to do a part-time master's over 2 years. And I'm in my second year now of environmental engineering at Queen's University. So that has been very good for me, and I've really enjoyed doing that master's. And then just to finish on inspirational teachers, so sort of two sort of incidents of teachers pop to my mind. GCSE Maths, which my GCSE Maths teacher gave me so much extra support. Maths wouldn't come naturally to me, and I've had to do a lot of extra study and time and to get better at Maths. And the one thing that I would put out to to teachers on the calls for their students is that you do not need to be mathematical to be an engineer, and you can definitely train yourself to look at Maths in a different light. And that teacher gave me a lot of extra support. She run after school classes and really helped me with understanding Maths and seeing it as in a more visual sort of way and not just numbers on a page. And she was, there when I got my A-level results, and was very happy when I got my A in GCSE. So she was there the whole time with me. And then in A-level, I'm sure any chemistry teachers on the call or chemistry students know A-level chemistry is not easy. And what made it a lot easier was my A-level chemistry teacher and my A-level chemistry tutor, who was actually my auntie. And they both just made chemistry really interesting and helped me find my sort of revision technique. The one thing that really came out of my A-level chemistry of both those people were revision techniques, and I find that I'm a very visual person. I like mind maps and I like memory aids, and teachers really helped me there. And just the closing statement is that the water industry and the environmental sector have so many roles and opportunities in it, and I sort of just fell into it. I don't think anyone really plans to fall into the water industry specifically. And it would be lovely to see it promoted and raised more in schools and universities, because there really is a lot out there. And I guess events like this is the first step to that, in seeing that the environmental sector has more in it, especially with water. So that's me.
those 4 insights have been hugely insightful, and I'm really struck by the journeys each of you have taken to your roles today, and in particular the influence that you each mentioned that several teachers have had on you in terms of, you know, how your pathway has gone, and that initial spark and support and additional help really came across clearly. And I suppose it is something for all of the teachers here today. Your influence is so deep and so wide on young people across the island. I love the passion you have for your company, Veolia. The growth is phenomenal, like 163 new hires. You're busy, Sabrina, and your 2 colleagues in human resources. But thank you so much, Brian, Scott, Sabrina, and Emma. Really, really enjoyed that insight into a hugely successful and growing business on the island of Ireland. So we'd love to hear from you now in the audience, the teachers. It's a great opportunity, guys. There's no question too small or unimportant to ask. Our 4 speakers would only be too delighted. So please do unmic and feel free to comment, ask a question, make an observation. We'd really welcome you to do that. Go for it, we say.
I have a question there. Yep.
Thank you.
It's okay.
Do you want to identify yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Michael. I work up in Bangor Academy here. I'll take my camera on. Sure, that's exciting for everyone. There's another place.
Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, there we go. Break up the boredom for everyone. So here, yeah, rather than looking at my black screen with a big M on it, we are looking at sustainability in our schools, and it's a growth in the education sector as well. You know, looking at environmental technologies and reducing climate change through environmental action. So I don't remember if that. Sorry, give me 1 second here. I just have to pause you for a little second. Apologies.
Don't worry, Michael, take your time there. So while Michael's just sorting out there in his staff room, there's a question in. Thank you, Ursula. So Ursula is wondering if the apprenticeships are only on your business site or are they advertised on Solus as well?
I'm not 100% sure. Like, we obviously work in partnership with Solus, so I'm not 100% if they're advertised there, but they definitely are advertised on the Veolia site on the careers part there. As I said, there's 7 opportunities in Dublin, in some pharma sites, some really nice sites in Dublin that will be, you know, great starting point for some new apprentices. And then we have some in Ballina. So we have a site in Ballina, a big FMCG in Ballina that we've opportunities there as well. And you know, with the apprenticeship programs, I definitely think teachers really need to focus on, you know, maybe students who mightn't want to necessarily go into college and do a degree in engineering, but they're very capable and interested. The apprenticeships are a fantastic opportunity because we have a couple of fantastic engineers who started out as apprentices first, and then after working as say an electrician or a fitter, that for a number of years, then they've gone back and become an electrician. But equally, it's an extremely rewarding career as an electrician or a fitter, and my God, those jobs pay very, very well. You would be very surprised. They're fantastic paid jobs, absolutely fantastic opportunities to work on some of the most beautiful sites around the country. So much opportunity, you know, you're not pigeonholed, you could work in several different industries. So yeah, I think the apprenticeship program really needs more emphasis, because I think it's a fantastic career opportunity for people in secondary school, and they really should consider it, because just opens them up to so much opportunity if they're interested in electrical or mechanical or automotive roles.
Terrific, Sabrina, to hear that answer. And you're so right. You know, it's the various pathways that need to be equally celebrated and, you know, shared and encouraged for young people to choose the one that best suits them, whether it is straight into work where you're supported by an employer for your own further education within the business, or whether it's a PLC, as we have in the south of Ireland, 1 or 2 years in a further ed college, or whether it's higher education, or whether it is the invaluable apprenticeship route. I think it's so important that all of us who can influence this and open the doors for young people spread the word. There's a couple of questions have come in. I think I'll just go back to you, Michael, if you want to continue there, and then we'll thank you for your questions. We'll put them to the panelists shortly.
Thanks, guys. So yes, basically, I'm looking to see two things, basically. First of all, is there an avenue for Veolia to arrive into schools to do like an outreach where we would go around the different careers conventions and things? I know in Bangor we do one where we bring in 3 or 4 different schools from around the town. They all come down, and our assembly hall, sports halls are full of different companies, and we're really trying to push sustainability in the last couple of years. And I would love to see environmental management and something with a more of a sustainability focused framework in there. And I wanted to know, first of all, do Veolia provide that kind of a service or publicity? And then secondly, do you think that there's an avenue for students leaving straight after GCSE to get into Veolia, or is it a case of we need to see another level into A level and then into your apprenticeships? I just wasn't too sure about the progression through the company. Does that make sense?
So I guess the first part of your question, we have different programs, certainly with some schools where we go out and we're involved with some schools where we do a World of Work program is one of them. And that's, you know, teaching children actually about sustainability, doing maybe communication skills or teamwork skills, doing different programs with them. We do a section called A Day in the Life, and I actually have this session tomorrow in Kilkenny, and we pick people from different career paths, like maybe an accountant, an engineer, someone from a lab, maybe different disciplines, and we get them to, like what myself, Emma, Scott and Brian have done, tell them a bit about their careers. So we have done that, and we do that with different schools. I guess if that's something that your school is interested in, like maybe perhaps we can take that offline and see if there is some capacity to do a session with you know, particular class in your school or that. But yeah, we do that. Yeah, it works really well. The students love it. Then in terms of access into Veolia, it really depends on what role you're going. So say, for instance, if it's an apprenticeship program, we are looking for people who have completed their Leaving Cert, which I think is your A levels, is it? Or the equivalent to your A levels. So just because an apprenticeship is not easy, it's difficult. And the requirement, even with maths and that, like, you know, we would like to see that they have, you know, completed fairly, you know, difficult exams. So we would look for a Leaving Cert or A levels for an apprenticeship. For other roles, it then depends whether, like, we have lots of entry level roles that don't require any formal qualification, and then obviously depending if you're looking for an engineer or if you're looking for an accountant, they'll have the equivalent qualifications that are required. So yeah, easiest way to answer the question, Michael, is it really depends on the role, what requirements are necessary to be successful.
Okay, no, that's brilliant. I just want, because we have a broad range here, we're non-selective, and I wanted to basically know where, you know, the company sees itself sort of target itself and whether I can really promote the company to around the whole school. But that's brilliant. That's everything I needed. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Michael and Sabrina. One other one from Patrice Gallagher. So Patrice is wondering that for students who will be sitting the Leaving Certificate next year, 2023, is there any point in them sending in CVs before they sit the exams and I guess get their results? Or are they better off to wait?
I don't think there's any issue now. Like, we might have, say, people who are sitting third level degrees. So we have a couple of people, like I remember we had a guy who started there in the summer who'd applied the previous maybe September or October. And we were delighted because we had it all tied up. We knew someone was coming. And once they passed their third level qualifications, they joined them straight away afterwards. So it will depend again on what the position is. Like that, if it was somebody who was interested in apprenticeship and we found someone in one of the schools who was just finishing their Leaving Cert or A levels and they were fantastic, and we thought, okay, we'll be happy to wait for this person to join. Of course, we would look to see if we can wait till next, say, June or that, when they finish their exams. Other times business need is that we need somebody in a seat last week, let alone waiting, months for them to come on board. So it'll also depend on the requirement for the person to be in a role immediately, or whether we have the ability to wait. But if there was something that somebody was interested in, I would say absolutely apply, and then at least we'll be able to keep their CV, and we'll know if something comes up then in the future, and we'll think, okay, yeah, maybe Jermaine or Emma or whoever is a good fit for that role. But yeah, we often place people in roles that we're waiting months for them to join us.
Great. There's encouragement, and it is true to be in ahead and already indicating your interest in that business and industry is powerful.
That's great. Thank you very much. Apologies. I just thank you. That's great to get that information, just to feed back to students. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Like
Patrice.
a previous person, I have to leave now. I'm running to class, but I really appreciate that. Thanks, Sabrina.
Thanks.
It's whether it's whether the students do put in that expression of interest in advance. I suppose I don't want them to be sending to any company unless really, is it going to be binned or is it going to be put in a file? I suppose. Yeah.
Patrice, so just before you sign off there, we'll stay another few minutes, but I'm going to just say my thanks now. So I'd like to say huge thanks to the speakers. Each of you. I know you've put in incredible preparation here to present, in the best way possible for you, the teachers, to support you. Huge thanks to Roisin Sarsfield for all the work in planning and organising today's event, along with Aoife Malone and Business in the Community Ireland, who did all of the event work, the registrations, and has been working ferociously behind the scenes here at the session this morning. Thanks, Aoife, and thanks, Roisin. To Anya Murray, Head of Marketing Communications, Corporate Responsibility and Bid Support in Veolia. Anya, it was a number of months ago that you came and said Veolia would like to do this, and all of the planning that went in since then has come to fruition in Cork a couple of weeks ago and here today. So huge thanks for all that you did to encourage your colleagues. I'd also like to say thanks to the Department of Education. They are our partner. It's an innovation that they fund us to facilitate these industry insights around the country, and it's great to be working so closely with them. And very especially, I'd like to say thanks to each teacher who stepped out of the classroom here this morning. It is so beneficial for you as an educator to, I guess, have an insight like this, to take away key learnings and to share those with your students. And we're delighted that everyone agreed to the recording today, because perhaps you will then show this recording to your students and let them really, really benefit. So also thank you to my colleagues who have joined here this morning, and in particular Celine McGrath, who's the National Programme Coordinator for our Industry Insights for Teachers. And lastly, our wonderful partners, our sister organisation and Business in the Community Northern Ireland, to Emma, to Karen, to Gary, to all of you up there. It's lovely to collaborate with you. We should do it more often, but I've really enjoyed gathering here today with schools, both North and South, and working with you. So thank you so much. It's a busy time for everybody. Look, if there are any further questions, very happy to hold here. We've a few minutes left, and equally if people need to leave, please do. But most importantly, Aoife, you might, I think you have it up there. Yes, our evaluation. So as they say, there's no free lunch. It's vital. We don't get funding to do this unless we show the impact. Please, if you would, take a picture there of the QR code that Aoife has put up. It's in the chat. It'll be sent to you. We'd really like your feedback and your suggestions and recommendations for further sessions like this. It's you that we want to support. So whatever your thoughts are, please do share them honestly with us. So thank you. Thank you all. Is there any final questions for any of our speakers? I have to say, I'm more than blown away by a project called Metabolic Activity in Sludge.
Oh, it wasn't that interesting, don't worry.
Sounds it, Emma.
Hi, sorry, just from the Business in the Community Northern Ireland team. So thanks again to everyone for our first little joint venture. Lovely. We're not that far apart, and particularly for our member companies that have bases across both parts of Ireland, Northern Ireland, it's great. There are, I suppose, some questions there from Northern Ireland, maybe around A levels or apprenticeships in Northern Ireland. So if we don't even get a chance to answer them on this, is there the possibility that we can follow up by email with some of those answers so that some of the teachers can take that information away with them?
Absolutely, Joanne. Yeah, of course. And there's one there on the higher level apprenticeships. If somebody would like to take that question from Veolia right away.
I know we've also introduced a new A level here called Environmental Technology in Northern Ireland that a number of the schools are picking up, which is about sustainability. So I suppose even if the apprenticeships are coming to Northern Ireland too, that would be useful for some of the schools to know.
I think for now, the need was in those locations that I had mentioned, so Dublin, Ballina, Kilkenny. It's not that we're opposed to them, it's just more so where the business need is. So certainly I would say for your students to keep an eye, if they're interested in a career in Veolia, keep an eye on the website. But yeah, for now, if they were interested in something, I guess the closest apprenticeship would probably be the one in Dublin. So I know that's not always ideal, but yeah, I'd say keep an eye, and who knows, there certainly could be in the future with the growth of the business, but for now the apprenticeships are in Kilkenny, Dublin and Ballina.
Well, look, we leave it there. Huge thanks to Veolia. Really proud to have worked with you on this, and have a safe and it's a brighter day certainly down here in Dublin today. I hope you all have a lovely afternoon, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, now.
Yes, thanks, Jermaine. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Brian.